I grew up in Glen Cove, New York, on Long Island, 1945. I was born with glaucoma, horrible eye disease. When I was 3 years old, they removed my right eye because of glaucoma. And when I was 7 years old, I lost my eyesight totally. Now I'd like to talk about my family for a little bit. Mama, Papa, my father, Salvatore Brazil, left Calabria, Italy in 1919, came to America, moved to Glen Cove, settled in a little Italian neighborhood called The Orchard. And soon after, and I mean soon after, like it felt like the next day, there was an arranged marriage. So I'm thinking back, I don't think in 1919 they did a lot of dating. No, I don't think so. I think the Italians came over, they said hello, I do, and let's have a family, and don't worry about it. So my father was going to marry my mother, Frances Gazzello. My father was 30 years old. Frances was 14. When my mother was alive, she told me this story so many times about how her mother told her why she had to marry Salvatore Brazil. Why? Now, my grandmother, I have to imitate her because she was hilarious. My grandmother was very animated. She spoke broken English. Well, it really wasn't broken. It was more like destroyed English. Yeah, destroyed. And her arms would wave, and she's very animated. She'd come in the house and say, stupid, what do you do, stupid? Yeah, that was Grandma. So Grandma told my mother, Ma, you gotta marry Salvatore. And because in Italy, he rich man. Woo, he got a lot of money, yeah. You know what he got? He got a chicken. Yeah, he got a pork, a pig. He pulled the milk from the cow like this, yeah. He got a sheep, plenty sheep. He rich man. He rich man. Yeah, in Italy he was Donald Trump. In America he was broke. So they got married. Had the reception at the Italian-American club in the Orchard. Nice big party. After the party, Frances, the 14-year-old bride, leaves the building by herself and walks 2 blocks back through the Orchard back to her mother's house. Her mother opens the door and says, what do you do here? Frances, well, Mom, I did what you said. I married Salvatore, now I'm home. You home? You home, Ophelia? You home? No, you don't live here no more. This is no your house. You got to go with him and he you hospital. Frances didn't have a clue. No. But she went back to her husband, and eventually she got it. How do I know that? Because I'm the last of 16 kids. Oh yeah, she got it, and got it. My poor mother, she was like an Italian Pez dispenser, one after another after another. And then heartache. 6 of those 16 kids died, not at birth, but at 2 and 3 years old from diseases back in those days. My mother was crushed. Oh yeah. And what made it worse, the last one born, me, with these horrible eye problems. I tell you, I spent as a little boy so much of my young life with my mother. She was miserable most of the time. I know it. I felt it. I was there. Yeah. And then Mama started to drink a lot. I never knew how Mama's drinking was going to affect me in my life for years to come. Not a clue. When I was a little boy, I had had 12 eye surgeries, 12. The first one, I was 11 months old. I want to describe when I went in for an eye surgery, what horror waited for me every time I went in for a new surgery. Me and my mother back in those days we had this routine. Week after week, month after month, year after year. This was the routine. We'd get on a train in Glen Cove, go into the city, into the eye and ear hospital. The doctors would walk me in a room, examine my eye, and send us home. 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, get on a train in Glen Cove, go into the city, into the eye and ear hospital. The doctors walk me in a room, examine my eye, and send us home. 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later, get on a train, go into the city, into the hospital. But this time, there was no eye examination. When those elevator doors would open and Mama walked me in, I knew what was coming. Mama didn't want to tell me that I had to stay for another eye surgery because she knew I would scream and cry and cause havoc, which I did. I held on to her and begged her for hours not to leave me. I cried, she cried. It was awful. It was awful. But she had to leave, and after she left, I sat there thinking about what tomorrow was going to bring. Yeah, tomorrow. They'd wake me up early in the morning, give me an injection of something to make me woozy before surgery. I hated it. I mean, hated it. I tried to fight it. I held onto the bed and shook my head, shook my body, and then shook and fought it and fought it. I hated it because I knew what was coming. Yeah. I would hear a phone ring. I would hear a Spanish nurse say, Vicente, Vicente, OR, OR. My heart would start pounding. They would wheel a gurney up to the side of the bed and roll me over on the gurney, strap me down. Nobody said a word, not one word. They would wheel me down these long hallways, making left turns and right turns. I would hear people talking, people laughing, my heart pounding out of my chest. Into the elevator, up to the 3rd floor, into the operating room. I knew it was the operating room because it felt like, I don't know, felt like there was a million hot lights everywhere, everywhere. And then that horrifying, awful, I mean disgusting, scary smell of that drug called ether. I hated it because it would make me sick for day after day after day when I was in the hospital. I knew what was coming. They would lay me on the operating table, strap me down, and before I could even scream, they would slap this ether mask on my face. I would start gagging, choking, couldn't catch my breath. It felt like I was going to die right there on the table. and all I would hear was a sweet nurse with a sweet voice say, breathe it in, Vincent. Breathe it in. Oh, Vincent, breathe it in. Yeah, breathe it in. Bullshit. I had to breathe it in. I had no choice. And when I did, that drug dropped me into the most horrifying nightmare of my life. A nightmare that stayed with me until I was in my 40s. And this was the nightmare. I was in a fetal position, trapped in a metal tank. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. And there were people outside the tank banging on the tank with a hammer, screaming my name louder and louder. Vincent! 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 I thought I lost my mind. I felt like I lost my mind. After surgery, I'd wake up. They had restraints on my arms so I couldn't touch my eyes. There was a ringing in my ears that was deafening, to the point where I could barely hear people talk. The room was spinning, spinning, and spinning. My life was spinning. I did say I knew what was coming, right? Yeah. And every time I went in for another eye surgery, it came. It came. And it kept coming. So after a couple of weeks, they would release me from the hospital. Now I was 7 years old. I had partial sight in my left eye. I want to tell you about the most horrifying moment of my life, and that's when I lost my eyesight. Every Sunday, me, Mama, Papa, a couple of my brothers would go visit one of my brothers who was stationed at Fort Dix, New Jersey, in the Army. We'd go there on a Sunday and have a picnic and visit with him. I'm sitting at the table. I got up from the table because across the way I saw my favorite, pussy willows. I loved them. I had them at home. I used to touch them and feel they were so soft. So I got up and I started to walk towards the pussy willows. And I stopped, turned around, looked at the family at the table, okay? Kept walking. And it started to get foggier and foggier. I didn't panic because I was used to it. Turn around, look at the family. Kept walking. And it got foggier. I turn around, look at the family. At the pussy willows. Back to the family. And then my world went black in a flash. I screamed. I felt the earth shaking when I screamed. You could hear my scream in Texas. It felt like the whole ground opened up and swallowed me. It was awful. Yeah. It was awful. Now, I was blind, totally. Couldn't see anything. Black. I didn't think at that time that my world could get worse, that anything could be worse than this. But it happened. You see, my blindness, I couldn't walk around the house the way I used to. I didn't know where I was in my own house. I was walking into walls, I was walking into tables, I was walking into chairs, and my mother would sit me down in a chair or sit me down on a couch to keep me in one spot. When I needed to go to the bathroom, she had to walk me to the bathroom. I didn't know where anything was anymore. No. In those days, I slept with two of my brothers. There were three in a bed. House was filled with kids. They stacked us like chairs. And there were those nights when I would wake up screaming and yelling and crying from these horrible nightmares that I had. My brothers thought I was nuts. They thought I was crazy. He said, "What's the matter with you? Go back to, you're waking up everybody. Shut up, go back to somebody who's nuts. Are you crazy?" Yeah, they thought I was crazy. I thought I was crazy. And then there were those nights when I would be woken up in the middle of the night where everybody in this house was screaming. The walls were shaking. The house felt like it was going to collapse. And it was Mama and Papa again in the middle of the night, fighting, punching each other, screaming, crying. The house was like a loony bin. I didn't know where to run. I didn't know where to hide. I was trembling. How the fuck do I get out of here? How do I leave? I hated my life. I hated this blind thing that was destroying my life. I wanted to go anywhere. I would go anywhere with anybody. I wanted a different house, different family. I wanted out somewhere, anyway. I sat there one day, and I'll never forget this. I says, I got it. All I need is a car. If I had a car, I'd get in the car, drive away, never, ever come back. A car. But they didn't teach blind kids at 8 years old how to drive in those days. 1953. No, they weren't teaching it. I was screwed. I had nowhere to go. It was that blind thing. Yeah. Mama found a way to keep me in one spot, put me in the front yard, and I spent most of the day sitting there, listening to the sounds of the neighborhood. And Mama inside the house crying, way too much to drink again. Crying, screaming, asking God, why me? Why me? I'd sit there and say, why you? Why me? What do you mean? I'm waiting for anybody, somebody to come and get me the hell out of here. Why you? Why me? I would go with anybody. I mean it. I sat there and said, kidnap me. I wish there was a kidnap. There's got to be a kidnapper somewhere who had this idea. Let me go kidnap an 8-year-old blind kid. I'm here, cuz, waiting for you. Come get me. I swear I used to beg for that. But little did I know that some help was coming. There was a barber who had a shop across the street from me. His name was Sal. He used to watch me every day, sit in my yard. I would cry, listening to Mama scream from the house. Sal walked over to me one day and took my hand and took me back to his shop across the street. And he said to me, Vincent, the sounds you're hearing, they're music. You have to feel it with your heart. It's music. You need that music more than you need your eyesight. Thought it was out of his fucking mind. Kidding me. Then he took out his guitar and started singing to me. He had a beautiful voice. Listen to the music, he sang. Find your song within. Listen to the music. Find your voice within. He did this, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week. And then he would teach me how to sing a song. And this went on for, I don't know, for months. That barber threw me a lifeline. Gave me something I desperately needed in my life at that time. Something to believe in, something to hold on to. A dream to chase through my life. Something to have. Music. Yeah. I wanted to be a star. I loved singing. I could sing. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be a star, and I was going to do it. I could do it. I could do it. I know it. Yes. But before the star could become a star, I still was sitting in the front yard every day, listening to the sounds of the neighborhood. And then in those days, kids would fill the streets and play the games of the day. You know, hopscotch, jump rope, baseball. I would sit there and cry sometimes because I couldn't play with them. They were right there and I couldn't play. I felt like I was in prison. I wanted to get up and scream and say, get the fuck out of here. Leave me alone. But I couldn't. And then one day I heard all these kids all of a sudden scream, there's a monster, run, run, there's a monster. I said, what kind of monster? Where's the monster? What monster? I was approached by a young boy. He introduced himself to me. His name was Walter. This was Walter's first day in the orchard as a foster child. Walter was born with a horribly, horribly disfigured face. I didn't know that. He came to me and said, why aren't you afraid? I said, afraid of what? My face. I said, I can't see your face, I'm blind. You're blind? I said, yeah. He says, well, don't you want to play? Don't you want to play baseball? Don't you want to, well, you're just going to sit here? I said, how am I going to do that? I can't see. He says, you want to be my friend? I'll teach you. I'll teach you how to play baseball. I have a bicycle. We could ride around, laugh, have some fun. You want to be my friend? I said, your friend? I didn't have any friends. I needed a friend. I said, yes, I'll be your friend. Let's be friends. Well, let me tell you what this kid did. He took me behind the school. It was a block up from my house, to teach me baseball. He had a baseball bat. He cut the thin handle off the baseball bat, put it in my hand, taught me how to hit the ball. He would catch the ball, bounce the ball back to me, and scream, Vinny, listen for the bounce, get the ball, hit it back to me. I would listen, get it, boom. I was playing baseball. I never did this. Even when I had partial sight, I never thought this was going to happen to me. It was unbelievable. I was playing baseball. Then Walter took me behind the orchard. There was a brook. He took me down, take our shoes and socks off, and wade through the water, walk through the brook. This was unbelievable. I never did these things. Then we sat under a train trestle and felt the rumble of the train when it would go past overhead. It was, oh. Then he would catch frogs, put them in my hand, let me touch them. He would describe them to me. I had a new life. And then one day he said, let's build a hut. He had wood, he had nails, he had hammers. He gives me a hammer, gives me a nail, tells me to nail the hammer the nail. I go to hammer the nail. Of course, I hit my hand. I said, I'm doing this bullshit. He says, oh, stop, you stupid blind guy. I said, listen, pie face, don't tell me about hitting my hand with a hammer. We loved each other. We loved each other. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you something. I met Walter when I was 11 years old. I was desperate. He opened up my life. I felt like I was in prison. He unlocked that prison for me. And I unlocked his prison because people would stare at him. People would point. People would laugh. People would turn away. We had each other. That wasn't an accident. Unbeknownst to me in those days, my blindness allowed me to get to know one of God's most beautiful creations. Get to know and love my buddy, my friend, my soulmate, my angel, Walter. You see, I didn't know Jesus in those days, but he certainly knew me. Oh yeah, he knew me. So now, I met him when I was 11. Now I'm 14 years old. I'm a singer. Taught myself, I'm a singer and I'm a drummer. I love the drums. Taught myself how to play. I had my first rock and roll group I put together. I was growing up. I was changing. Even though I had so much anger in me all the time and fear, I still had this hope and this drive to be a star. I was going to be famous. And I even started to poke fun at this thing that I hated, my blindness. I named my first group Vinny and the Venetian Blinds. People thought I was crazy. I said, I love it. I was starting to grow up. I had other names for the group too, the Gropers and that kind of thing. So now I'm 15 years old in high school, and I want to talk about briefly the blind association in those days that I hated. The Association for the Blind. And I hated, and I mean hated. I'll tell you two quick stories. The high school I went to, the system wanted to bring in a guy with a cane to teach me how to walk. I said, I know how to walk. I don't need a cane. My legs are fine. They said, no. This is to help blind people, with independence. I says, I'm independent. Are you kidding? I'm playing drums, I'm singing, I'm chasing girls. I'm fine, I'm independent. No problem. They bring the guy down. Guy takes me outside on the sidewalk, puts my hand in the place on the, and then we start walking down the sidewalk. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. After about the 10th tick tock, I threw it down on the ground. I says, I'm done. This is not happening. I feel like a blind alarm clock. Ain't happening. Bullshit. Not happening. It's not for me. I gave the system a tough time. I was angry and I was a tough kid. I knew what I wanted. Oh yeah. Then they did one more. The Association for the Blind, they sent me with 40 blind kids and some teachers to Statue of Liberty. Can you imagine 40 blind kids walking up the winding staircase of the Statue of Liberty? Some were tripping, some were falling, some other kids were stepping on kids that were tripping and falling. It was a mess. And then all of a sudden, this caravan stops. And the teacher makes an announcement. Children, we're in the knee. I said, we're in the knee? Whose knee? What knee? And why are we in the knee? There's no knee here. There's steps. This is baloney. And all the blind kids around me were saying, oh, we're in the knee. Oh, this is wonderful. Wow, we're in the... I said, but what are you... This is bullshit. There's steps. What's the matter with you guys? I couldn't understand it. So we tripped back down the steps and went to lunch. I'm sitting at a table with all these blind kids and some teachers, and I'm talking to this blind kid, William. I said, William, where are you from? William looks up to the ceiling and says, I'm from Westbury. I look at him, I look at the ceiling, I says, William, let me ask you a question. Is somebody pissing on your head? Look at me. They never looked at me. All of these blind kids, their heads would go this way when they talk, that way. Never looked at me. I didn't understand. Made me feel shitty, made me feel blinder. I didn't want it. That system was not for me. I knew what I wanted out of life, and I was going after it. Oh yeah, yeah. Now, my blindness, I didn't realize this at the time, but my blindness helped me deal with so many tough situations. Helped me to deal with so many tough situations. Back in the 50s, I grew up at a place that, I grew up at a time where prejudice and racism was just about an acceptable part of everyday life. Oh yeah, the N-word would just fly off the people's tongues. Even though I was blind, I was prejudiced. Yeah. I hated like a lot of people did. I knew who to hate, but I didn't know why. Now I'm 15 years old in high school. Beginning of a new school year, they had to find somebody to walk me from class to class, get me around. So they picked this kid, Roy, and me and Roy became friends. Great kid, funny kid. I really, really liked him. And then one day, some kids came over to me and said, what are you doing hanging out with Roy? Don't you know he's black? I didn't know Roy was black. I was horrified. I was like mortified. Roy's black? But I said something back in those days that I thought I would never say. It's too late to hate him. He's my friend. Oh yeah, I loved Roy. We were buddies. We would go to the bathroom, Roy. I would raise my hand and ask the teachers, can I go to the bathroom? Roy would take me to the bathroom. We went to the bathroom not to go to the bathroom, to smoke in those days. So we were in the bathroom smoking. One day, a young black kid comes into the bathroom, tries to hustle me for money. Before I could even open my mouth, Roy beat the shit out of this kid. Beat him to a pulp. A black boy beating one of his own kind. to protect a white kid in 1959. I wish the world could have seen that. Yeah. And I look back, it's my blindness, because if I had eyesight, no way in the world in those days I would have ever allowed myself to make friends with Roy. No way. That's just the way it was. Really was. So now I'm 19 years old. We had a manager. We were going on the road. We were going to do a string of colleges. Yeah, I was thrilled. Now I'm going to become a star. I'm going after it. It's here. All right. But before I could leave, Mama has something she had to tell me. She said, Sal the barber died. I says, oh, that's terrible. Oh, that guy who helped me with my music, helped me to sing. Wow. Oh, I felt terrible. She said, he left you money. And then she starts crying, my mother. I said, left me money? What's going on? She said, Vincent, it's true. You are the barber's son. I'm telling you, I felt like somebody shot me. I started to stammer, stutter. What do you mean? What does this mean? What are you saying? I don't understand. What does this mean? It's like I lost the ability to understand the English language. What are you saying? I was numb. I went in the other room, slammed the door, sat down to try to get my world to stop spinning. Spinning. It was on a roller coaster. It was awful. And then I understood those words Mama told me. I'm telling you, I had more anger in me than any 50 people. I wanted to go outside and I wanted to hit her and I wanted to hit her. It was awful. It was awful. For the next 25 or 30 years, I ran through life, screaming as loud as I could, running as fast as I could, carrying every insane, crazy emotion humanly possible. Oh yeah. I played all over. I went to Europe many times. I wanted to be a star. Yeah. I wanted to be a star. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. That was my life. And nobody was going to take it from me. That was my life. And I was good. I was a good entertainer. I love people. I love breaking balls and having a great time. I had a great sense of humor. It was like chicks loved me, not because of my looks, because of the attitude. Poking fun at my blindness. And I had a really good soulful voice, man. Ray Charles was my hero. Yeah, it was good. It was working. It was happening for me. Back in those days, I was crazy. I mean, I got locked up twice. I was a big kid in those days. I used to lift weights. I'd go in a bar after a gig or something, be a little too drunk. I'd start a fight. I punched the cop once. They locked me up twice. Pain in the ass, blind kid. Out of control. Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, in those days, I got married. Not once, twice, 3 times. Somebody told me a long time ago that blind guys don't pay alimony. So I got married and kept getting married. But I got to tell you that blind guys do pay alimony. Oh yeah. So I went on with my life. I was playing locally in Glen Cove and years later. And I always wanted to open up a recording studio. Now I had the money, and I did, in Glen Cove. I had a little apartment above the studio where I stayed. This was what I wanted. Music all day long and party at night. I was the captain of my own ship, man. But when that ship started to sink, there was nothing Nothing I could do about it. I was walking across the studio floor one day to turn on the stereo to listen to music. And all of a sudden, there was this Christian station. Christian music. I said, what the hell is that? And I'm telling you, almost immediately, I fell to the floor. I had no idea what the hell just happened, what this was. I tried to get up. I couldn't get up. I didn't know if I was having a seizure, a heart attack. I didn't know what was going on. I tried to get up 3-4 times. Now I'm panicking, scared to death. I don't know what this is. I'm alone in the studio. I felt like I was going to die on the floor in my studio. I didn't know what was happening to me. The only thing I could do was crawl. I crawled to the phone and called my musical partner and best friend, Elisa Sunshine. She was a singer, keyboard player. She came running over. Elisa sat down on the floor of the studio. I was lying on the floor of the studio with my head in her lap. We had no idea what this was, but we knew one thing. Whatever it was serious. Oh yeah. And then all of a sudden, me, Vinny, started to cry. Cry like a baby. And these words came out of my mouth that I had no control over. I'm dying. I'm smothering. There's no love. Where's the love? I never gave it. I never had it. I never got it. I need to touch it. Where is the love? I need to have it. I need to touch it. Where is it? Where is love? I don't have it. I don't have it. Lisa thought I was out of my mind. I thought I was nuts. What am I saying? I had no control. Me? Where's the love? I gotta have love. What the hell's the matter with me? What is this? It was insane. This went on for a bit. Then it subsided and Lisa wanted to take me to the hospital. I said, no, I'm okay. I'm all right. She finally left. Well, some weird, crazy things started happening on top of that. I would be alone in the studio sitting down, and all of a sudden, my body would be enveloped by this feeling that I was floating. And I'm talking about like I wasn't in my body anymore, or the studio. I was floating. I was like, what is this? And I got to tell you about the feeling I had that this thing gave me. Tremendous fear. It was weird and crazy, but peaceful. It was so strange. Then it would disappear. And this would happen only when I was alone, not when there was a bunch of people around or if I was playing a gig. No. I didn't know what this was. It would happen. And then it would disappear. I'll tell you the truth. I said to myself one day, it's one of two things. It's either God or I'm losing my fucking mind. And I thought I was losing my mind. I couldn't control it, couldn't stop it. But I had to get back to my life. Music was my life. That's where I was making money, and that's where the party was. That my life was music. So this happened to me in 1984, 1985 in my studio. And these feelings kept happening. I want to take us to the year 2000. I went to bed one night and had a dream of Walter and Roy. And I woke up and I sat there and I said, for the first time in my life, I actually felt that my blindness was a gift. I never thought that way before. Always thought it was a pain in the ass. I hated it. Because if I didn't have my blindness, if I had eyesight, I would have never made friends with Roy. Never. The color of his skin, no. If I had eyesight, I would have been just like the other kids with Walter. Pointed at him and laughed at him. my blindness was a gift. And for the first time, I realized it. I went to my partner, Elisa, and I told her about my dream. She said, listen to me, Vinny, I got an idea. You have that's an incredible story. Let's write some songs about Walter and Roy and put a program together, and let's go into schools and share this with these kids. They would love it. So that's what we did. We went into high schools, we went into colleges and different organizations. The reaction I got was incredible. And for the first time in my life, I felt good. I don't mean good like chasing chicks and having a party. No. I meant good. A good I never felt before. A clean good. God had his arms around me and I knew it. Oh, I knew it. This wasn't the old Vinny thinking this way, feeling this way. No. It was incredible. And I'm going to tell you that my life, I felt, was like trying to climb Mount Everest with mudslides and hurricanes. And I was trying. This next event in my life brought me to the top of Mount Everest. Yeah. I was playing with my band, and a friend of mine used to come down and see me play every night. Her name was Marianne Klotz. Marianne was the manager of a school for special needs kids. She said, Vinny, you gotta work for us. You gotta work. These kids would love you with your attitude, your personality, your singing, your energy. You gotta. I was a little taken back by that. So I said, let me observe. Went to the school. There was a guy sitting there with a guitar, playing the guitar. The kids want to get up and touch the guitar. The guy said, no, stay in your seats. Don't move. You just listen to me play. And I'm sitting there looking at this. I'm saying, it's bullshit. Where's the interaction? These kids need interaction. So I took the job. I walked in to observe a room, my first day on the job. There were 8 little 10-year-old kids in wheelchairs. And they had this syndrome. I don't know what the name of the syndrome is, but their brains stopped growing at the age of 3 years old. And their bodies kept growing. And there was a therapist there with one of the kids, with a shaker. And she said to the kid, okay, put the shaker in your hand and shake the shaker. Kid wasn't doing it. So the woman put the shaker in the kid's hand, and the woman shook the kid's hand. I know what she was doing. And then she writes in a book, child shakes the child. Says, this is fucking crazy. What, you're kidding me? So the first day I went in that room with those little girls, I walked in and then I started dancing and jumping. You want to sing? You want to dance? Come on, let's go. And the kids all of a sudden waving their hands and laughing and making noise and laughing and screaming. And I'm jumping around and I'm going from kid to kid. Yeah. Look. Teacher was mortified. I said to the teacher, this is called fun. And then I met a little girl named Gracie. 15 years old, she was blind. A lot of serious mental problems. And violence. She had streaks of violence. I got to know her, make her laugh, sing, did my routine, jumped and laughed and come on, let's sing and clap our hands. She loved me. To the point where I was the only one pretty much that they could handle her. They made me her one-on-one. And the school was going to have this talent show. So I said to Gracie, you're going to sing in the talent show. You're going to sing a Motown song. Yes, you got to learn. I'm going to teach you. And Gracie, okay, all right, okay, great. 2 months, I worked with this kid. Day of the talent show, I went on stage with her. She sang a Motown song. The place went nuts. And all these professionals after came to me and said, how the hell are you do that? How are you doing this? I said, I have no degree. It's my only answer. I have no degree. I think people with too many degrees lose touch with real life. That was my theory. Whether I was right or wrong, I have no idea. I didn't care. Didn't matter. Now, I thought about, I worked there for 10 years, by the way. 10 years in that school with all these beautiful kids. So much, they loved me. They'd get off the bus in the morning and they'd see me, they'd come running up to me. Let's dance, let's sing, and hugging and kissing me. And oh, it was amazing. And then I thought of that night at the studio, that day, the studio when I was crying for love. Where is the love? It was there. The love that I cried for years before, I was getting every day from those kids. Love that I needed, love that I never had, love that I wanted. They gave me. Wow. Wow. And then, of course, there was the goofy, stupid, nutty Vinny, where I would flirt with all the women in the school. And the women, a couple of the women in the office said to me one day, Vinny, stay away from our new nurse. Her name is Mary Ann. Leave her alone. I said, no problem. I went from the office straight to the nurse's office. And I introduced myself to the nurse by saying, Nursey Pooh, take my pulse, please. She laughed and said, I was warned about you. Well, me and Mary Ann, the nurse, flirted for a couple of months in school, back and forth. We fell in love. We were together 16 years. We've been together. 16 years. And during those 16 years, I asked her to marry me a bunch of times. And she would say, I don't know, we'll see. She said, you got a bad reputation. She said, we have to wait. I said, no, I'm good. After 16 years, I was a good boy. I was a good boy. I was changing. God had his arms around me, and she knew it. So we got married September 24th, my birthday, the year 2022. And my 77th birthday, we got married. I have to tell you that Jesus walked me through hell in this life. And I didn't know it. Standing by my side, I didn't know it. Keeping me from destroying myself, because the truth of the matter is, if I shouldn't be here. No. The things that I've done in my life, I should not be here. I'm here. I thought I was going to be here to be a star and a zillionaire and a... No. I'm here to share my story with as many people as possible. Lisa, my partner, and I have put together a program, a testimony with music, an hour and a half. See, I've given you bits and pieces of my life. There's a lot more. Oh, yeah. Put together an hour and a half program with music that was given to me over the years through dreams. Oh yeah, pretty incredible. So now we have shared this in churches, organizations, and I'm telling you that the reception is incredible. It's beautiful. So I'm asking you all, whoever sees this, please, we have a website we just put up. Go to my website. It's called thegiftofblindness.com. Thegiftofblindness.com. Please help me to share this story with as many people as possible. It is so important. I need that. I need that because that's why I'm here.
Vinny, great story. Thank you so much.
Okay, man.